So, first I just want to thank you, Scott and Mandy, for participating in the conversation. Part of the intent, one of the intents, the authentic intent of this video was to create authentic communication, and so I want to continue it. There's no reason in authentic communication that you, me, anybody cannot speak their thoughts without entangling it with emotion and fear, anger, resentment that doesn't allow them to, or you or me, to grow, to move beyond our current understanding. And so to think that we have reached a certain place of understanding with any topic, whether it be God or addiction or life or sowing, or it really doesn't matter. To think we've reached the pinnacle of understanding would be absolutely insane. So I just want to thank you guys for participating, and I know that we will continue to move forward in this conversation, and my desire would be for it to be a never-ending conversation as we all continue to grow in ourselves and in our Maker. So thank you. So my first thought or question, Scott, would be in regards to someone finding or having, quote unquote, the right God, and how that relates to sobriety or an individual finding recovery from addiction. And let's talk real authentic here. Addiction is not, at least in my terminology, is not simply drugs or alcohol. The word addiction can be filled with many, many things in life, and so to only look at this from a drug and alcohol perspective would be very small-minded. And I want to make sure that we broaden our horizons as we dive into some of this. But that first question is, so this right God, and that sounds very religious, if you will. So are you telling me that a Muslim cannot get sober from drugs and alcohol? Can a man of Jewish descent not find sobriety from pornography? Or can a lady that is agnostic not find recovery from overeating? I'm not sure what the right God would be in this particular individual case. And to be quite frank with you, to be authentic, if you will, I don't know who Frank is. I don't know why they say that. I wonder. We should meet the guy sometime. To speak authentically, I know lots of individuals that have surrendered their lives to what is supposed to be the right God in regards to Western religion, and yet they are never able to find freedom from their addiction that is destroying their life. And so you say, well, there's work to be done. Okay, well, let's talk about that work. What is that work? And is the work different with a Baptist God as it is with a Catholic God? Is it different from the God in which a Muslim worships or a Hindu might worship? Or is it different? Because at the end of the day, we're talking about people finding restoration from their pains, from their hurts, from their past, really. And I believe it would be difficult, and it has been difficult. I believe it's one of the reasons why we're in this current situation as a society, that we have created these slogans or these phrases that position people to do things that do not help. They may give temporary freedom from a situation, but ultimately we know that lots of individuals go back to their addiction of choice. And so what we know to be true is that, based on our ability to live in the most incredible time in this world, it's a time of information. And so it's a little bit different than maybe of what you've heard in the past. This time that we live in is a time in which we have free information. And what that means is that it's not constrained to a belief system, it's not constrained to a demographic, it's not constrained to anything. It is, we have the ability today to find the absolute source of everything, based on the incredible amount of information that is on the internet, the money that is going to research and investigation. Things that may have been deemed true in the past are now unraveling on many platforms. Addiction is one of those avenues that it is unraveling. It is we are coming to see on many different levels. It is being proven in all platforms that addiction and mindset is not what we thought it was. And so that's why I wanted to open up this conversation and just really find out, are we just going to put another label on it? Are we going to put some churchianity on there, some old slogans from the past, and not move this ship further, not help anyone any farther than we already have, because we as individuals are unwilling to look into ourselves and see who we are, where we came from. And so I want to talk a few things, just 2 minutes here, about what I think about some of this stuff. Is that as far as I'm concerned, there is only one God. We were all created by the same God, God the Creator. And we were also created in His image. And so when I work with individuals and talk with individuals, we focus on three things. Finding out and accepting who we are, where we are in life, in this current moment, which is the only moment in which we have, always based on where we came from. And so our history, our testimony gets us up to this current moment in time. But that original source, our original source, is the image of God. And so when we can identify those three things, we can be in a position for greater things. Again, we were told we will do greater things. And so to try and create something based on hope or prayer or wishing simply cannot happen, because that is something that is outside of us. It's almost as if we are asking for a genie in a bottle to fix us, to fix our problems. And if we just hope enough, and if we just pray enough, and if we just wish enough, that all these things are going to go away. And the truth is that they're never going to go away, because there is no genie in a bottle. We have to begin and end with us. And so I have a saying, it begins and ends with me. It begins and ends with you. From what I know to be true in my life, based on my testimony, is that for me to know God, I must know myself. And so that means I must be continuously diving inward. And the more I get to know myself, the more I get to know my Creator, because my Creator is my origin. It is not a belief. It is not a building. It is not a particular religion. ultimately it begins and ends with me. And so as I begin to work on self and get to know self, I also begin to create this relationship with self, as well as create this relationship with my Maker. The interesting thing is that, go back to authentic communication, we must learn how to communicate with ourselves first, then to God, then to the people around us. And the issue is, at least in the Western world, is that we want to love God, love Jesus, and love others, but no one loves themselves. And whether it's His Word or other documents in history, it always begins and ends with you. So if you refuse to love yourself, you cannot love God. And if you cannot love God, you cannot love others. And it's in that order. It's in His Word, it's in the Torah, it's in other religions or belief systems. It's all over the place. But for some reason, here in the West, we refuse to look at self. We simply want to save the world and hope and pray for a day that isn't our current moment in time. And so if we're not willing to look at this current moment in time, then we cannot experience God. We cannot build a relationship with our Maker if we're not willing to build this relationship with ourselves. And as we build this relationship with ourselves, we begin to authentically communicate with others, which allows us to then be in authentic community. It is not a place that you go to per se, once you know who you are, where you are, and where you came from. It just is where you are, everywhere you go, in every moment in time. You were able to allow yourself to be who you were created to be.